I am speaking on the word faithful, and I've been assigned the letter U. So, mainly what I'm going to talk about is going to deal with that letter U in terms of the word faithful. The one thing I couldn't get around is that we already know that God is faithful, and he teaches the process of reciprocity, meaning that if he's faithful, he expects you to be faithful also. And in his word, he teaches that he is going to be there in every single thing that's going on, which proves that he is faithful to us. So, my letter U in the word faithful, the first thing that comes to my mind is that he's an undergirder. And for those who don't understand, undergird was a word that was used during biblical times, first of all, mainly because they couldn't put a ship out to water unless it was equipped with undergirds. Undergirds are not the ship, they shore up the ship. So, in other words, they make the ship stronger than what's visible about it. Most of the time, a good undergird can't be seen because it's not there to be spectacular. It's there to hold the ship together. So no matter what the ship goes through, whatever storms that they may encounter, whatever rocks or icebergs that they may run into, as long as the undergird is in place, as long as the undergird is stronger than the ship and made out of material that's greater than the ship, that the ship doesn't have to worry, or at least the captain doesn't have to worry about the ship coming apart because the ship is undergirded. And I say to you today that you have to be undergirded by the faithfulness of God. And that word stands alone and by itself. Before we get anything else, get undergirded. And people may not see you as you are. They may see you through your problems or your frailty. They may still see you through your past. But let the storm come. One thing that your life will say is that he or she has been undergirded because God is there in its life and he's underneath you to make sure that everything turns out all right. My next U is uplifting. Even on your down days, one thing about God is he's uplifting. He tells you that if you can't think on nothing else, think on these things. So he not only wants to uplift your life, he wants to uplift your mind. So your mind and your attitude and how you carry yourself needs to be that thing that's just above the ground because you serve a God that's uplifting. I don't care how hard it gets. I don't care what we're going through, that God is saying he's faithful in uplifting your head, even if your mother and your father is against you. God is the lifter of our head, and that he'll bring us to a place where we feel like, even though I feel like I'm being pulled down, my head is lifted because I know something greater. And what is the greater? The greater is God is faithful. And I'm faithful to him by holding my head up above the things that I'm going through. And even though I have you, most of the time we think of when we think of the word you. I thought about him being unlimited. And I like that because sometimes and most times we come to our limitation. Like, okay, I can't take it. Well, this is it. I can't do no more than this. They don't need to ask me for any more of this. All they're going to get. I can't go any further. Those folks who serve the Lord knows that there's no limitation to him. There's a song that says the sky is the limit, but I need them to know there is no limit. So if they want to rewrite the song, I give them permission to do it, that there is no limit to what God can do. And if you expect a limited God, you're keeping him too small. And as we enter 2025, let's go big. Think of God greater than what you could ever think of. The small things that he's placed in your mind, I need you to know that he is unlimited. And as a counselor, I thought about the word you, the letter U, and I thought about how we oftentimes will do process that we call the empty chair. And when I was thinking about this letter and praying about it, I thought about the empty chair and I thought about the you. And what came to my mind was unutilized. Unutilized. And so God is faithful to give us potential that we don't even utilize. Unutilized. So if you sat a chair in front of you and there's nothing in the chair because you never thought of yourself like that. You didn't think that you could accomplish that. It didn't seem like that would fit you. And God is saying, you're only looking at this side of your gift, but there's an unutilized part of your gift that you haven't even encountered. And the chair is there. If you will open your mind and see this faithful God, that there is nothing that's going to come in your life that he's not going to equip you for that. So they may call you this. They may call you missionary. They may call you minister. They may call you that. But I hold today, there is a part of you that is unutilized. And finally, if I could take the letter U and take writer's advantage of the letter, I'd push it into its phonetic sounding and make it a word, you. So whenever you think of God's faithfulness, you need to think of you. Not just the letter U, but the word that encapsulates who you are. Because he's not just faithful out in the stars, which he is. That's why they're out there every single night. But he's faithful in everything in your life. Most of the times, we don't see his faithfulness in the heavens until it gets dark. And you don't recognize his faithfulness to you until it gets dark in your life. That we take it for granted that the stars are going to come out. You take it for granted that God's going to bring you out all right. But I hold that if you were the only person on this great earth, that God would do everything he did just for you. So when you think of faithfulness, don't forget to think about you. God bless you.
Hello, everyone. My name is Senior Servant Leader Algernon Aris, and I'm doing the L in Faithful, which stands for loyal. And I want to ask you something. Who are you loyal to? How do you show your loyalty? Loyal is an adjective, so that means it describes who you are. And the definition says unswerving in allegiance, such as faithful in allegiance to one's lawful sovereign or government, faithful to a private person to whom faithfulness is due, faithful to a cause, ideal, custom, institution, or product. God is faithful. But are we faithful to God? Are we loyal to him? And God is faithful in a way where he's firm in holding true to his promises. His words are given with strong assurance, which means everything that he says will come to pass. Every promise that he gives is going to come true. Matthew 6:24 says, no one can serve two masters, for either he will hate the one and love the other, or he will be devoted to the one and despise the other. You cannot serve God and mammon, meaning money, possessions, fame, status, or whatever it is that you hold higher than the Lord. So I want to ask you, what is it that you hold higher than the Lord? What is it that you are devoted to? Because when you devote yourself to something, it means you give yourself to it. It means you really set aside the time and the resources to it. And we show our loyalty by serving. We serve Facebook with our time. We're on our phones all the time playing games, almost as if our phone is our God. We give money to all these frivolous things that don't matter, that don't feed our souls, to name brands like Invicta and Michael Kors and Dooney and Burke and whatever. And we give our money to Amazon. We have faith that Amazon is going to deliver our package on time. We have faith that when we put in our order at McDonald's that we're going to get our food and we're going to eat. But are you feeding your soul? Because Jesus says, do not worry about what you're going to eat, what you're going to drink, what you're going to wear. He says, don't even worry about tomorrow. That's going to take care of itself. That your Father, our God, knows already what you need and will provide those things for you. That job that you asked for, that promotion that you asked for. When you finally get it, do you give your tithes and offering to God? Do you give more time to him? Or do you give more time to the job? Do you dedicate your time to God like you should? Do you love what he's giving you more than him? Matthew 15:7-8 says, "You hypocrites, play actors, pretenders. Rightly did Isaiah prophesy of you when he said, 'This people honor me with their lips, but their heart is far from me.'" So I ask you, where is your heart? Because the Bible says, "For where your treasure is, your heart it will be also." And I don't know about you, but my family is in my heart. I love my children. I love my wife. And it reminded me of a story of a man named Abraham who loved his family as well, who wanted children so bad for so long that he gave up on it. But God promised him that he'd be the father of many nations. God promised him a child, and he gave him Isaac. And then when he promised him that child and he gave him that child, he tested him. He said, "Who do you love more, me or the child I gave you? Do you love the creator or the created?" And he would have him sacrifice that child. And he was loyal to him and was going to do it. But he said, "Wait." And he gave him his promise. So where is your heart? Where is your loyalty? Where is your love? Do we show our loyalty by the teams that we're wearing? The football team, the basketball team, the baseball team? When my children come to me with issues, am I going to tell them to follow me and like what I like and wear the team jersey that I wear? Or am I going to tell them to follow me as I follow Christ? When these situations arise and the fiery arrows come firing down on them, am I going to tell them to fall in your flesh, to do what you think feels right? Or am I going to tell them to put on the whole armor of God? Am I going to tell them that when these issues come, are we going to resist, stand your ground, and having done everything in your Christ to stand firm in your place and be victorious? Am I going to tell them to do what God said? Or am I going to tell them to do whatever they want to do? Deuteronomy 7:9 says, "Therefore know without any doubt and understand that the Lord your God, he is God, the faithful God, who is keeping his covenant and his steadfast loving kindness to 1,000 generations with those who love him and keep his commandments." So I'm going to tell them to love him. I'm going to tell them to keep his commandments. I'm going to tell them that this moment that you choose God can go beyond me, go beyond you, and go for beyond 1,000 generations. That's what the Bible says. That we're going to love him, for he is our God. I'm going to tell them that we need to read our Bibles daily, that we need to pray without ceasing, that we need to die to ourselves. I'm going to tell them to be obedient to the Lord our God. And I'm going to tell them to not stand on the fence when it comes to your loyalty, to show God, to really show God your loyalty, because the devil owns that fence. But God, our God, says that with him all things are possible, that if he be for us, who can be against us? So I'm going to be loyal to my God. Pray my strength.